Justin, I think we're going to have to tell David Amerlin that he might have been right in his prediction that Google might have an advantage in AI because they have all the data. Now, we didn't completely disagree, but we did challenge it.
Well, I'd definitely say, in my personal experience, if I get called out on something or I get embarrassed like they had a few years ago with that conference, I'm going to work a lot harder next time so I don't get caught, unexpected or get caught, off guard. And I think that's really what happened with Google. I think they've really put in the work. So yeah, I think David was onto something.
In the AI battle, Google still has the best information. Now, the thing I wasn't betting on is often companies as large as Google really can't stay competitive. They can't get focused enough. They become independent silos that don't talk to each other. And I think they might be pulling it off. And I think that could be a story in itself because they have, of course, their own tensor chip. So they have their own chip. They have certainly a lot of resources and probably the largest access to data of anyone in the game. And they also have all the tools. They have a browser, they have email we're using, they have YouTube we're using. So not only do they have the data, they have a lot of touch points where we're still using. I mean, they don't have Facebook or TikTok or anything else, but they do have a lot of people use Gmail. A lot of people use
Mhm.
Google Doc and a lot of people use their other tools and resources.
Right. And I've had this conversation a lot lately because you and I use different platforms. I use Copilot, I use Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT almost daily on all four of those, depending on what utility I'm working on. And I definitely say that Google, they have the name recognition. That's been really strong for them. But what really is setting them apart that's really impressing me, and Google's really moving its way up in my toolkit or my stack, is that they're actually solving problems that make sense that I'm actually going to use. Microsoft is really falling behind because people aren't using it. There's an article out today that just said that Copilot is getting left behind because people just aren't using it. And so I there hasn't been a lot of change in Copilot. I know one of my frustrations here is that with Google, it's so easy to use Gemini to write a script and build something, to explain that script to me if I have any questions about it, and then to continue just customizing my sheets or my docs or whatever I'm working on continuously. And then just the work they're putting into workflows to connect all those together, for me, that has a lot of utility because I'm a workflow person. I have a lot of workflows, whether it's for a client or in my, full-time career. And so that's what I need. The last time I tried to write a script in Microsoft, I was so frustrated. It was actually easier to vibe code or code a website and deploy a website than it was to write a simple script that worked in Microsoft. You would think that with the money they've put into it and the partnership they have with OpenAI, that I'd have a co-pilot that could very easily deploy a simple spreadsheet with the equal Copilot function. Whereas with Google, within 5 minutes, I can have something built, have it built out just using Gemini and Sheets, and then start building actual AI, the Gemini in the cells, the Gemini function, and have a fully functioning project management worksheet in 5 to 10 minutes.
I really wonder if they didn't do something right at Google where they ask, where are people stuck where we can offer a solution with AI? I mean, it should be obvious, but large companies have a big problem with this. And I'll give a good example. The new feature of improving your slides in Google Slides is extraordinary. I mean, it's like, would you like this to look prettier? Click it. And then bang, it makes a quite impressive slide that had the text accurate and everything else. And then in YouTube, there's a little the triangle we're familiar with, and then the little ask a question. Well, how many times are you speeding up a YouTube to try to get to the point, and they're trying to clickbait to have you listen as long as possible to get their numbers up? and you want to
Mhm.
just answer one question. I clicked it, I asked the question, it went through the video, it gave the answer, I was done. I didn't have to waste any more time. I think somebody at Google is going, where are the problems where we can solve them with AI? And I'm not sure that Microsoft has been as aggressive in doing that.
No, and I think Microsoft, this is my personal opinion. I think to a point, Microsoft has gotten into this comfort zone to where it's, well, we don't need to improvise because we're Microsoft. And I think Google was there a few years ago to a degree, which is why I think they had that blunder and why they kind of fell behind. And maybe that issue they had at that conference was what they needed to realize, hey, look, maybe we've gotten static and a little complacent, and we're losing focus with our customer base and what we're here to do. Maybe that jolted them out there. Microsoft really hasn't had that. And what's interesting is I've seen and heard rumors about Sam Altman, is still isn't sold on Microsoft, the partnership they have. He's still open to ideas on other companies, whether it's Amazon or even Google, Apple, things like that. And so, I'd be a little nervous being Microsoft if, OpenAI is out there courting or talking to other companies, and I'm finding out that you know, my product's not being deployed. And one thing I think about with these tools is, a big topic earlier this year was, well, AI, it's a bubble, it's hyped up, all these reports out there stating that, 95% of companies aren't using it or whatnot. And I wonder how many of those companies were Microsoft-based companies when you think about it that way. Was it that they weren't being used or they were utilizing shadow AI? Maybe everybody in the Microsoft-based company was using Google to get their work done. Who knows? And so they weren't able to accurately report on that 95%. I've seen that firsthand where, shadow AI is a big thing because one, people don't trust the organization, maybe to not track them or something like that. But then two, if for some reason they have a change or pivot in career and they want to take that intellectual property with them, and it's a lot easier to do that with shadow AI. And so really we don't have a really accurate way that I've seen to gauge what the true utilization is. It's being used, we know that, but I don't think it's being used in a way that's easy to track because I'm not going to self-report on how I'm using every day, not because I'm trying to hide it, just because that's a lot of unnecessary work when I'm using AI to get rid of unnecessary work. And so I have a kind of sneaking suspicion with some of the data that's coming out that maybe whether it's Claude or Gemini or even ChatGPT, that yeah, we're using AI in a much larger scale than people realize. It's just not Copilot. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoy Copilot. We teach Copilot. I like Copilot in research, but yeah, I've noticed there's not a lot of improvement here lately.
Or even they could be using ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that we know of, and we know lots of people are doing it, and they're not reporting that they're using it. They might be
Mm-hmm.
having a separate account or something else with it. So I think what we ought to do is hit on a few of the big things that have changed. And one is ChatGPT came out with 5.2. They increased the space, they did a number of things to actually focus on improving some of the problems they have and reduce some of the hallucinations, which I think is at least a smart move on their part instead of just some grandiose major, we have 6.0 and it's greater than sliced bread. So I think that's a good move. But then let's look at some of the things like Nano Banana and some of the big
Mm-hmm.
things are rolling out. I mean, every day Google's coming out with some new AI things. I go, well, that's useful.
Absolutely. And to go to their AI studio is just it's wild to see the new tools that are coming up. I'm excited about their upcoming agent and their upcoming workflow. Uh, tools, those are going to be amazing because from what I've seen, once they get them working, those are going to be some of the most user-friendly automation tools out there. A lot of people, I've said this for years that, if YouTube was accredited, it would really put higher education in danger. One platform, part of Google's, that's really starting to take a lot of speed is Kaggle. And if you haven't used Kaggle, I would highly recommend it. It's very interesting because it's not only Google's kind of learning platform, but it is also doubles as a portfolio. They have hackathons and builder events to where you can actually win prizes, but it also builds a portfolio for you. They have badges, so you can actually earn badges that are, Google recognized. And so now they're building up this learning platform as well. And so it's really, in a way, it's threatening to education what Google's doing, and they really are playing everyone's game where, of course, they've got the main Google everyone knows. Gemini is becoming incredibly powerful, and it's functioning all throughout their workspace, like you said. They're giving away for free to students, which is beneficial. That's going to create customers even when they switch over to a paid account after a year. And then you've got YouTube. We all know YouTube has taken away from education for a long time because how quick is it to go, I do this? How quick is it if your sync's busted to either ask Gemini or go to YouTube and find a video that'll walk you through it, not have to go to school and then come back and fix your sync. But then also, Kaggle on top of that, to where now you can actually earn badges, earn credentials, and you have a learning platform. It is very interesting as someone who works in higher education to look at what Google is doing well beyond what most of us see. And it's like they're building an educational empire right now.
Yeah. And let's not forget NotebookLM. I mean, I've helped
Oh,
several
yeah.
people who have come back and said, I think this helped me ace my test. And they keep rolling out. It just seems to be improving. I just had it with one of my book launches, had it put
Hmm.
together a video presentation. I'm going to bring down an overlay with some other images, and I'm getting some ideas of marketing some of my own stuff by it.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know how I forgot Notebook LM. I use it. It's very effective in education because it can help, generate. I can pull only sources I want in the class to pull from. Of course, I use the infographics and the audio overviews a ton, not to count flashcards and things like that. And so for me, when I'm building an online class, I can easily put in a audio summary of the lesson that I fed in there and then have an infographic. So now I'm engaging visual learners, engaging learners auditorially. And, for kinetic learners, if I want to put flashcards or something in there, I'm really appealing to any type of learner in my classroom, which only enhances their ability to learn and them actually wanting to learn how to use the tools and dig in from there. So there's so many different ways I can leverage it in education.
Well, we wanted to just give a little update because everyone's the buzz is there. I'm still holding on to ChatGPT for now. I enjoy it. The truth is, it's quite an exciting battle going on that looks like will be full game on in the new year because there's so much money behind each one of these things
Hmm.
that it's going to still be fun to watch. And as consumers, we're winning because they're giving a lot of free tools. Obviously, they're learning from us as well. But if you're making the effort to follow what we state in our training and keep
Hmm.
learning along the way, you're going to keep a competitive advantage. And Justin, just a little sampler, we have a video coming up of our review of the year and prediction for 2026. Just watch in the next week or so. We're going to actually review what we said would happen this year, and we will own our successes and our failures on it, and then give our prediction for 2026. So stay tuned for that as well. I want everyone to have a wonderful holiday And let's hear what your views are on this debate between the big players in AI. What do you think? What is your prediction? Put it in there. We might quote you in our next video. This is Martin Brossman.
Dr. Justin Rose.
Have a great day.